Alex, tell me, you probably realize, and these discussions in the morning show, that the Russian invasion of Ukraine has, of course, reaffirmed the importance of conventional warfare. But at the same time, what has it told us about the importance of technology? What has it told us about the importance of software? I mean, what kind of lessons do you take away from the last 7 months of the war that Russia waged on Ukraine?
Well, it's important, obviously, to go back and look at what were expectations and what then happened. The expectations, obviously, were, depending on which country you were sitting on, that A, the war wouldn't happen, B, it would happen, but Ukraine would lose. And I think, in all honesty, we may be the only people I know of who predicted that the war would happen and Ukraine would outperform. I think it's being viewed around the world. Of course, there's always a diagnostic of what happens in a war. Most of that can't be discussed in public. And so the diagnostic, the private diagnostic, is that David beats Goliath, where David is a hero and armed with certain conventional instruments, but heavily empowered with technology. In war, your ability to use, what does it mean to use software? How do you control your special operators? Where do they go? Where do they leave? Do they get the SIGINT information while they're on the battlefield or while they're not on the battlefield? Do you get information from space? Does that information from space provided to the people doing the actual operation? Can you disrupt the information flow of the adversary? Can you map their information flow? Can you do, it's one of the really interesting things is people assume people like in this room and civil libertarians are misaligned. Actually, very much aligned, because if you're working in complicated environments, only very few people can actually know the battle plan. That's called data protection. The ability to segment data, to control who sees what, to purge data, to make sure only the people on your side in the specialized components see the data, i.e. exactly what you need in GDPR, is exactly what wins the battle, while actually being able to control your positions, understand the adversary, and disrupt their information flow. And it's the ability to win on that battlefield that actually makes sure you don't have wars, that the values we believe in actually turn out to be the winning values, that the best people are involved in these values. And that's why these conferences in Poland and why Poland and Ukraine are so important, not just to the people of Poland, Ukraine, and in Eastern Europe, but to all of us. And why civil liberties are actually crucial to what we've done.
You have criticized in the past very much Silicon Valley. Can you tell us more? I mean, you are based in Denver.
We live in New Hampshire. I mean, some of this is in America.
You say the U.S. is a technological giant, and yet at the same time, you're very critical of many companies.
The original Silicon Valley 1.0, built dual-purpose technologies that were built for the military and then benefited the rest of society, primarily the West, but certainly America and the countries represented in this room. Silicon Valley 2.0 is largely built to transfer the highest value revenue to a tiny sliver of a tiny sliver of a tiny sliver of the tiniest sliver of people in the world, while convincing you it's a great thing by disseminating the thinnest, most hard to understand politics ever understood, called wokeism. And I'm a progressive, but this isn't, I don't believe actually progressive. And I believe that's a carcinogen on the West in particular, a carcinogen for which we pay a huge price, and is certainly not what Palantir is about. Silicon Valley, we see our role as being highly tethered to Silicon Valley 1.0, which is defending the West, creating dual purpose. I mean, the most significant part of our business now that's growing the fastest is commercial. And why? Because we spent over a decade understanding the underlying technical issues of working in a military intel context. And many of those insights are crucially valuable for industry, especially industry that is under pressure. What is the influence of AI in the military? Look, everyone is watching. Like, if you are, especially if you're in an adversarial country, you are watching exactly what's happening in Ukraine. And what they are learning is that it's the combination of heroism, something which is inborn, can't be replaced, conventional arms, and what you're calling AI, although AI here is a synonym for platform data management and AI. And what they're also learning is, holy shit, with very little money, you can actually go up against, with resources that would have been irrelevant 10, 15 years ago in fighting us, you can change the game. The same way we learned in the Valley, that's why so many of these companies come from the Valley. With very little investment, you can massively outperform. Again, the most important thing you can do if you're in the military or in military operations now, though, is make sure that these very legitimate questions are actually being answered technically. If they're not being answered technically, like does the software work? Work also includes data protection. It also includes data management. It includes does the AI actually add real value? You are going to you'll spend a lot of resources and essentially get nothing. So essentially, long story short, the winners in industry and in government are people who can actually interact with technology, a new kind of technology, effectively. And it is new, it takes a lot of effort, and one of the most important things you can do, whether you're industry or in government, is depoliticize that. It must be depoliticized. You must actually implement what works, or you will lose.
Alex, thank you. Thank you so much.